So there's the obligatory photo of my neck, and on and share. All right, cool. So we are going to make a full stack Python app. And all right, we're all good. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a Python project. So remember how to do that? Okay, and now we've got an env, and then what do we have to do? Source and vim activate. So now we are inside the virtual env and we can install stuff. So we are going to install Flask, which is the Express equivalent. And then we're also going to install Flask SQL Alchemy, because this is a full stack app, so we're going to have a database as well. And from last week, the SQL Alchemy is the object relational mapper. Oh no, my necklace just broke. I have to get that taken care of. The object relational mapper. Right, and so that is going to be how we're going to communicate with the database rather than using straight SQL. Again, as you'll recall from last week. Okay, so now let's start making some directories. So I'm going to make a directory. Oh, and I might as well pip freeze requirements.txt. I might end up installing some more stuff, in which case I'll overwrite this requirements.txt. But requirements.txt is sort of like part of a package.json. You know, all it does is show you what you have installed. And so if somebody wants to recreate this project, they do a pip install -r requirements.txt. That's the equivalent to npm install.
What does the freeze do? Does that create a file?
Yeah, the pip freeze just shows you what you have installed, and then you redirect it to a file called requirements.txt. Okay. So, all right, so now let's start making some directories. I'm going to make a directory called templates. That's going to be for my Flask templates. I'm going to make a directory called model. That's where I'm going to put all my database SQL Alchemy stuff. I'm going to make a directory, let's see, and I think my server.js is just, oh no, server.py is just going to be here. I'm going to make a directory called static. Static is the equivalent of public in an Express app. It's where the like the CSS and the JavaScript and the images go. All right, so this is oh, but because of the virtual env, the tree doesn't work so well. But so I can no, but same problem. Okay, so we have the server.py, and inside the model, we will have all of our database stuff, and then inside the templates, we'll have our templates. Inside static, we'll have our static stuff. And actually, you know what? I'm not going to have a very complicated model here, so I actually think I'm going to remove the model directory, and I'm just going to make a file called model.py. Okay, so let's let's open model.py, or let's just atom this whole thing. And we'll start with the model. So we're going to create a whole database using SQL Alchemy. And so we're going to do the same thing that we did last week, which I used to have totally memorized and under my fingertips, but because I've been doing JavaScript so much, I do not. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and look at what we did last week. Well, goodbye. Somebody, I don't know, phone or something just said goodbye. Okay, so let's look at my repositories. SQL Alchemy demo. Okay, so I had all of that doc test stuff, but okay. So here we are going to import. We'll do from Flask SQL Alchemy, import SQL Alchemy, and then from Flask import Flask. We actually don't need to do that this time because we are actually going to have a real Flask app and not have to make a fake one in order to use Flask SQL Alchemy. So let's just go here and from Flask SQL Alchemy, and then I'm going to say from server import app. So server, I have not made the app yet, but I can. So I can say from Flask, import Flask, and no const or whatever. My head wanted to do it because I've been in JavaScript land for so long, but we just say app equals Flask. I'm instantiating with the argument dunder name, just the name of this file. I don't have to export it. It is automatically available. Anything from the namespace of this file, if I import it, is going to be available here. And I'm saying from that namespace, I want to import this app. Okay. So, okay. So now, and I'm actually I'm gonna comment this out for a moment. To comment in Python, you use $. I'm going to comment that out for a moment. I actually don't quite need it yet. So right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to instantiate SQL Alchemy, and I'm going to have that object here. And so now I can start making classes, and I can say I'm going to use pets because, as people who attend a lot of my lectures know, that's what I usually do. So I'm going to make a class pet. Classes in Python start with a capital letter and they're singular. And then the doc string goes here. Starts with a capital letter, ends with a period. And again, white space is what determines your blocks. The colon means a block is about to follow. Okay, and this one is going to subclass db.model. Again, you'll remember from last week, that's how I actually create tables from these classes. I'm going to call the table pets. I like my SQL tables to be lowercase pets, lowercase and plural. Okay, and now I'm going to say, what do you need, or what columns is pet going to have? So I'm going to have a pet ID, and again, I don't have this at my fingertips anymore, so let's just get that back here. So I'm going to have a pet ID, and this pet ID, I think you guys can probably see it if it's that size. I think it was a little bit extensively big there. So the pet ID, it's going to be an integer, auto increment, primary key. Fine. I'm going to make another column that's going to be pet name. That's going to be a DB string. Again, this is all just coming off of this object. These are column types. Can I do that? Maybe not. DB text. And And do I need my pet name to be unique? No. Do I need it to be required? Probably. So I'm going to say nullable is false. You can't null it. Okay, I'll say I'll say born at. That's how I like to do my, this is just SQL stuff. This is how I like to do my date things. And so we'll do db.column, db.date. I'll let that one be nullable. I don't, really care so much. And then what else? Do I need anything else for my pet? Oh yeah, we want the species. We want the species ID. But really, before that, I'm going to make my species class. So okay, so here the table name will be species. And I'll have a species ID and a species name. So, excuse me, we're going to have something very similar to these two. Okay. And now I want to connect these two tables. I want my pet class to have a species property. And that is going to be a db.relationship. And now I just, again, okay, you don't capitalize the relationship. You tell it the class that you want to relate to. So the class that I want it to relate to is species. And that's all. I can do a backref, but I'm actually not even going to because I don't think I want to get pets by species. I just want for every pet to be able to get a species. If later I want to take a species and find out what all the pets are, I'll deal with that later if I need to. All right, questions on what I've done so far? I'm going a little fast because this is a review of what we did last week. It's being recorded. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. All right, great. So now I'll do I'll do owner. And we'll do the table name, whoops, equals owners. And we will, let's see, so owner ID and owner name. I don't think we need to tell when the owner was born. All right, and then pets to owners, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. I would say many-to-many. I would say that any owner can have multiple pets and that any pet can have multiple owners. So, okay, so I'm gonna make a join table so that then I'm gonna say pet owner. Association between pets and owners. Okay, and so this one is just going to have a pet owner ID. And it's going to have an owner ID, which is going to be, and let me remember. Okay, so I can make it a foreign key. Okay, and then I'll just duplicate this line and we're going to have a pet ID. Okay, so just a standard association table where you're associating IDs from two other tables. And now we can go up here and we can say for pets, we can also have a owners, and that is going to be related to the owner table. It's going to go through the pet owner table, and then I will have a backref here. So the backref means if I have a pet, I can go through this table and get owners, and if I have an owner, I can go through this relationship and get pets.
Can you repeat again about the two parts?
Yeah, so this DB relationship here, what I can do is I can say I want to relate pets to owners, but there is no direct relationship. So I want to go through this table to get the relationship.
Is this database management a function of Python or a particular package in Python?
This is from the SQL Alchemy ORM object relational mapper. JavaScript has object relational mappers as well, but I have not found them to be as easy to use or functional as SQL Alchemy. So, okay, and so now we're going to do a couple other things. We are going to do a connect to app. When I do the def, what does that tell you? It's going to be a function. Just because SQL Alchemy, actually, you can use it without Flask, but I'm using it with Flask because when you do, you get this really nice, just single object that everything is attached to. It's much more spread out if you use it without Flask, but it does mean that you have to attach it to a Flask app. Flask is the equivalent of Express. It's just the way it goes. So, right, so again, I'm just gonna go back to remember my syntax. I'll actually do this whole thing. Okay. Okay, so now I have ConnectedDB. My default is going to be Python pets. That's going to be my default database. Why do you think we might have this be configurable? For testing. And this is how you do an optional parameter in Python. You say, if the parameter is not supplied, then use this default value.
Same thing in JS.
What's that?
We can do the same thing in
Same thing in JavaScript?
If it's not supplied, otherwise we pass it undefined, use this.
Right, exactly. One difference, Bob, is that if you do this and you try and give it only app, you'll get an error. You can't just leave out an argument unless it has a default value. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to connect to DB and I'm going to connect to this app. And then I'm going to, okay, I'm not sure what that's. Oh yeah, I know what that is. That's if you want to see like what all the actual SQL queries are. All right, so you configure your app, you do a db.app, you do a db init. And so it's basically just connecting your database to the app so that you can use that SQL Alchemy, that Flask SQL Alchemy, which is so much nicer to use. Now I am going to take this import, and I'm going to put it down here. So let's talk about why I did that. First of all, what is this if dunder name equals dunder main? Do you guys remember? If I'm directly running this file and I haven't imported it. It's the similar to if not module parent in Node, if you've ever used that. basically if I'm running this directly and I haven't imported it, I am going to import this. I'm going to import this into my server because I want to use this stuff in my server, right? Now, if I import this into my server and I have this at the very top, I'm going to be importing this file into the server, and then the server's like, and then when I try and read through the server file to import it, then the server file is going to try and import this. So it's like, okay, I'll read through that file, but then I need to import the server, but then I need to import the model, but then I need to import the server, but then I need to import the model, and you get the circular reference. So I have to only import the app from the server if I'm actually just running this directly from the command line. All right, so let's see whether all of this worked. First of all, I need to create that database. I don't think I have a database called Python Pets. So let's go here and Python Pets. And now I'm going to do Python model.py. Oh, cannot import name Flask. I need to do that as a capital letter. I'm sorry, I just really like Python tracebacks so much better than Node tracebacks. Look, it tells me in server.py line 1, that's where my problem is. So let's go to server.py line 1, and I have to import the capital Flask. Let's try again. No module called PsychoPG2, which is always a fun one. Did I install Flask SQL Alchemy? I'm not did I?
When you look back on that Flask page, it might be a Python thing, but you said, oh, uppercase Flask, I see. So it's reversed from JavaScript.
Well, the module is called lowercase Flask, and this, my hint that this is a class is that it has an uppercase. So I'm importing a class, and here I'm instantiating the class.
Does that need to be lowercase and line 3 Flask?
No, it's the uppercase.
No, it's the one. I'm from the module Flask. I'm importing this. Yeah, this PsychoPG2 is actually, it's upset that it's not installed. So it should have installed as a dependency of Flask SQL Alchemy. Okay, so now it did that. It connected to the DB. And the other thing that I did was I did a db.createAll, meaning I created all my tables. So let's just take a look at that. So if I do if I look, they're all my tables. Okay, so yay, tables with NoSQL. All right, so now let's actually seed the database with some pets. So I'm going to make a new file called seed.py. At Hackbright, we had support staff, which were just a bunch of stuffed animals around the room, and they all had like programming type names. And there was one that was a slice of watermelon with a bunch of seeds, so it was called seed.py. Okay, so here, okay, so now we'll see the database, and we need to do from model import. We need to import pet, species, and owner. All right, so now let's create, I'm just gonna do the whole thing. I'll do def create data. I'm just gonna, all right, so for pet, let's make a few new species. So I'm gonna say no, not node anymore. Tiger equals species. And for this, I'm going to say, I don't need to give it an ID because the ID is, that's auto-incremented. I just need to give it a name. So species name equals tiger. And I'll do a couple more species. So cat dog. Okay, and now I'm going to say Astro equals species, not species, but a pet. And I'm going to say the species, no, the pet name is going to be Astro. And the species is going to be dog. Actually, I'm not sure I can do it there. So I'm just going to say, and then born at is going to be okay, and so we'll have Astro, we'll have Crookshanks, they're all going to be born at the same time. Let's see, what other pets do I usually use?
What's the something with C? What's your cat's name?
Oh, Cisco.
Cisco.
Yes. Well, of course, Cisco. All right. And then Cisco was actually born.
Yeah, you gotta do it right.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Hobbes started around 1990. Is that right? Somewhere around there.
Now you mentioned you were like considering adding in species name. You're like, probably not the right
Yeah, it probably isn't. I think it might work, but what I really want to do is I want to say Astro dot species equals dog, like that there. It might work in there or it might not. Let's try with just Crookshanks just to do, and we'll see. We'll see whether it works or not. And then, right, so I'm going to skip Crookshanks. And, oh, we already did that one. Okay, so now we need owners. So we'll say Calvin is an owner. And I don't think owners have anything but a name. Okay, so. I'm trying, man. Okay. And this one is going to be George. And this one's going to be Jane. Just so that Astor can have two owners. Okay. And so now I can say, I have a choice. I can say Jane.pet or Calvin.pet or Calvin.pets because Calvin can have many. And actually, we don't have anybody who has multiple pets here, do we? I do not have multiple pets, but let's just say I do. So I used to have a cat named Lexi. We'll put her in there. Like that. So now I can say Bonnie.pets equal, dot append. That's how you add to the end of lists. Cisco Lexi. And I can do, or I could say like Hobbes.owner dot append. I wouldn't recommend mixing these like this, but just to show you could do either. Calvin. And then, I have to do extend. You can't append multiple things. That's just syntax. Okay, so let's see. Crookshanks dot owner dot append Hermione and Astro. Oh, and it probably is owners. oops, we can check how we did it in the model. Yeah, it was owners. Okay, so astro.owners.append, or we'll do an extend here, George and Jane. Okay, so now this create data, I'm gonna give it a DB. So far, all I've done is create objects in Python. They have no connection to the database. Although I am using classes that I imported from the model, and those are associated with the database. Now I have to add all of this stuff that I've been doing to the database. I can do an add all. I think I have to give it an array or a list. Oh, it's a list in Python. And so you only have to give it things that have, for Tiger, if I give it Tiger, Tiger is automatically linked to Hobbes, which is automatically linked to Calvin. So if I give it Tiger, I do not have to give it Hobbes or Calvin. So I am just going to give it all of the species. And then I have to do a db.session.commit to actually commit the transaction. And fine. So now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to do, I think I also want to import connect to DB. So down here I'm going to say if, no punctuation, hooray. I am going to connect to DB. And I also have to import the app because Connect to DB needs the app. So from server import. So I'm going to connect to DB, and then I'm just going to run create data. So let's see how that goes. Well, create data takes exactly one argument. So connect to DB. Right, so I think connect to DB actually modifies a global object. It does, it just modifies this global object here. So I'm also going to import that global object. Okay, and then create. So now, so this global object, I'm importing it. It's not connected to anything when I import it because in model, when I run through model, I don't actually do this code if it's being imported. Does that make sense? And so, right, so I need to, even though I'm importing that file, I need to connect to DB. And now this DB is connected to my database and I can create data.
Have you anywhere in your application set the port number or the
No, it assumes the default port for Postgres, and then the default port for Flask, which we haven't gotten to yet, is 5,000. So, but yeah. So, all right, check it out. There are no foreign keys, the pet.species. Okay, so I messed up when I created my, okay, thank you, bye. I need to actually give it a species ID here. And let's just take one of these and change it to species. Okay. Now, all right, so now if I just run the other file again, I'm going to get the same error because I need to actually recreate my tables in order to, just connecting to the database doesn't recreate my tables. So here I'm going to do a db.drop all. Drop all, drops all of my tables, create all, creates them again. So let's run the model. So it dropped all the tables and created them again. And we can check. So pets now does have that species ID, which is a foreign key. And okay, and so now I can try and do my seed again. Pet owner has no attribute foreign keys. Okay, so I messed up again. So let's actually look at my helpful stack trace. And it's in my species name tiger. So it's when I'm trying to create the tiger species, it's getting upset because pet owner, interesting, it's like going all over the place, has no attribute foreign keys. Okay, maybe I don't absolutely adore Python stack traces. All right, pet owner has no attribute foreign keys. That's the right file. Has no attribute foreign keys. Did I? Okay, so pet owner is here. And so owner has no attribute foreign keys. And it's telling me that when I'm trying to make just a tiger, which is just a species. And that's strange.
You were saying tiger, you're setting tiger species, right?
Well, tiger is just a species, right? So here this is why, so if you do a -I, it runs all of the code and then sticks you into an interactive console. And actually, I want to do IPython, which I don't have installed. So now, if I ask it about like species, it knows. So I'm going to say tiger equals species name equals tiger. And it does. It gives me the same problem that pet owner has no. All right, if I cross out, I just want to see, if I cross out my relationships here, will it be happier? So, okay, fine. One of the reasons that IPython is nice is it remembers from session to session, so I can use the up arrow here. Okay, so it's fine. So my relationships are the things that are messed up.
It wants you to only be able to create a species if it's already on pet owner table? I think that basically I have a syntax error in this line. That's my guess. So I'm just going to go back to where I was doing it before. Just to remind myself of the syntax. So mixed drink secondary, you give it the table name in the secondary and not the object name. Okay. It's, was that the name of the table? No, I didn't put it underscore. Okay, so let's try that again. And okay, so now we're good. So let's get out of here and let's Python the seed again. Okay, so now Calvin or init takes exactly one argument and two are given for, oh, right, okay. So again, this is just a syntax thing, me being rusty on my syntax. So here I have to do owner name. So let's see, how did I do with, I think I'm fine with everything else. Okay. Okay, and then add all is not it. So I'm going to actually do the model again, and I'm gonna just remember, so what do I have? Oh, session add underscore all, okay. Okay, yay. Let's actually look at the database. Not so yay. Okay, so I wonder, because I usually don't do it down there, I wonder if I add it up here, if that makes a difference. And now it knows it's tracking it, so it like pulls all that stuff in. Let's try again. So I'm just going to do the drop and create all with the model.py, and then I'm going to do the seed again. And now, nope. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time because we're already at 2:45 and I've basically just reviewed what we've done last week. So I'm just going to do just some workarounds for now. I'm not entirely sure why I have to do this. Oh, how could I forget Cisco? Okay, good. Oh, Lexi apparently is not a cat. That's a problem. Let's just make sure that Lexi gets to be a cat also. And Crookshank should have a species also. Oh, yeah, and so Crookshank, so the species did work up here. So that's good to know. All right. Okay, so so now let's actually make our we'll make our server. So, and notice that I'm getting these PYC files. They're like these compiled files that just make it faster to import something. All right, so now I have a Flask app. And do you guys remember, I talked about this a little bit the first week. You have a decorator, you do an app.route. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about decorators, but something that modifies the function below. So I'm going to say my /route. Now I'm going to have a view function. So def show index. And this is going to be show index table of pets. And okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of the pets. And I do this because I say from model import. And again, this is why I had to bury that import server in the model. I had to bury that under here so that it didn't get called and I didn't have a circular reference. So back to server, not that one. So from model, I want to import pet, owner. Actually, I don't think I need species right now. All right, so here I'm going to actually get all of my pets. So I'm going to say pets equals pet dot query dot all. That's going to get me all my pets. That pets now is a list of pet objects. And I'm going to send that to my Jinja template. So I need to now do render template as well. No. So I'm going to render template, and the template is going to be index.html, which doesn't exist anymore. And I'm going to give it that list of pets under the name pets. This one here is this. I could say like pets list or something. It's just what I'm going to call it from when I'm in the template. Okay.
One more thing I would like to clarify: the show index, is that a name that you came up with,
Mm-hmm.
or is that
Totally came up with, and it could be called anything. Yeah. Okay, and then down here, I'm going to say if dunder name equals dunder main, and this is important because I do import the server in other places, and I don't want to run my Flask app if I'm just importing the server because I need the app to connect to my database, right? Also, I'm going to have to do DB here, and then
Say that one more time. You don't want.
so I imported, like in my model file, I imported my server, and I don't want to run this code. I don't want to actually start my app if I'm just importing this simply because I need this app.
Okay.
Just like here, I'm importing from the model, I'm importing all of this. And when I do that, I don't want to drop all and create all my tables. I only want to do that if I call it directly. Okay. So, okay. We'll see how much of my Flask I remember. Connect to DB is not defined. There you go. All right. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I do want to say debug equals true. That's what's going to reload it every time, I think. Yeah, exactly. But we'll see whether it actually accepts that. Nope. Okay. Yeah. So now I have my debugger. Okay. So yeah, built-in NodeMon. Okay, so now let's see what we get, and I'm going to get an error because index.html is not found. One of the nice things about this this is you can actually like go to the here it actually doesn't have a lot in my code, but if it did, you can actually get the context of like where it is and start doing debugging from here. And you have to use the code that it gives you here. So evil people, don't try and do things on your server because like I'm actually running Python when I do stuff here, right? So I could like add pets and stuff here if I wanted to. So I can, I can look and see what's going on. Right? Cool. Yeah.
Counsel's available
In the browser. Yeah. Okay. So, but the fact is my index didn't exist, which we knew, right? So let's make in my templates folder, and it automatically searches in the templates folder. So let's just make an index.html. All right, and so here, pets, and now this now has access. So I'm going to say our pets. And then I'm going to make a table. And I'm going to say, I'm going to make a header row, name, and species, and that's all I'm going to do for now. And then now, oh, I didn't close that. So actually, let's just serve this just so we know we're able to. So this is a Jinja template, but it's just straight HTML. It has no Jinja in it right now. Okay. So let's refresh. View function did not return a response. Bummer. So I have forgotten that you need to return this.
So the thing, you could have function name anything, but that needs to return something within your route.
Yeah, so it's the fact that this is decorating this function means that this function is associated with this route. I don't call this function, but Flask does. And it needs to have a string returned, which is going to be, the body of my, no, it's going to be the entire response. And render template just creates that response for me. Okay, so again, I got all restarted there. Let's try that again. Okay, so here's our pets. Fine. So if we go back, now we sent it this pets here. So we'll see how much Jinja I remember. So we want to do for pet in pets. And then you have to do an end for because white space is not important. So you need to tell it when you're actually ending. And so now we're going to do a TR. And now in this TD, we're going to do pet dot, did I call it pet name or name? So you can see. So right now that pet is this pet object. So I can do pet dot pet name. And then the species is going to be pet.species. Now, pet.species is actually a species object. So if I want it to display a name, I have to do dot species name. Right? Pet.species is going to give me that species object. And the Jinja has no idea how to display that species object, but it does know how to display strings, and that species object has a species name. So I'm going to repeat this for pet in pets. Let's see what we got. Oh, no. It doesn't have to. I am clearly not remembering Jinja properly. So let's.
You call the key something else and not just that your when you send it out?
Well, she's seeing the syntax that should be like interpreted by the template that's checked out with.
How to build an HTML table with a simple for loop in Jinja. Okay, so, oh, it's not, it's curly braces. So close, okay.
This looks more like EJS.
Ah, yes. I think EJS is based on Jinja. Okay, so let's try again. It would have been too easy if it had just worked. Okay, so now we're getting this pet. Yeah, this is not at all what we want. So I need to actually put this in. Is it what you do in EJS also? This is a variable, not a literal string.
Jokes is like Jinja.
Okay, so there we go.
I think it's all everybody wants. I like that idea. But
Yeah.
I also want this to be fun. Yeah, we all kind of build off each other.
Okay, and so let's see. Should we really quick try and make a page where if you click on Astro, you get details about Astro?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay, so we may go a couple minutes over, but I actually don't think we'll do much more than that. So I'm going to make another file called petdetail.html. But first, in the index, I want to make an ahref here, and I want that to equal pet dash and then pet.pet ID, right? So I want to go to the route that is /pet and then whatever the pet ID is. This is terrible HTML formatting, but there you go. All right, and so now in my server, I am going to do an app route, and I'm going to do pet, and then I know this is how you do it in Node, and I can't remember if it's how you do it in Flask, but we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. I don't think it is. I actually think it's this, but we'll see in a minute. All right, so def show pet data. Oh, and this actually, we want that ID is going to be a.
So you said because they're using the at, it knows that the function under it is supposed to be the handler.
And the at is called a decorator. And I think I can do this where if I want it to be an int, I can do that. Otherwise, it'll be a string. Okay, so so now I'm going to say pet. This is what you do if you are getting something by its primary key. Now I'm going to render template. Fine. And so now I can go in.
Over here, I wanted to ask something.
Yeah,
How would you
yeah.
access the request object? Is there anything like
Mhm.
a request object?
There is. What you do is you actually, request is a global object that Flask modifies and you take stuff from in here. So you import it from, not from there, sorry, from Flask. And so Flask throws stuff into that object and then you pull it out in your own code. That's how you access it. So if you want get stuff, you do request.args, and if you want post stuff, you do request.form, and those are dictionary-like objects, so you treat them like dictionaries. Yeah, if we had more time, I would demonstrate that, but so it's different. It's all very different, right? And
You don't need a body parser.
you don't need a body parser. You don't need frickin' callbacks. Okay. Things just happen in the order you want them to. It's amazing. Okay, so render template, right. And so now let's go into this pet detail. And I'm going to do, and I'll say detail for, and now I can say pet.pet name here. And now I can say, I'll just make a table, and I'll say trtd name. And oh, this is going to look ugly, I think, but we'll see. Created at, well, I suppose so. And now I'm going to do, and I'm going to do another table. And well, let's do this. Let's do. Owners. And I'm going to do a table, and here I'm going to say for owner in pet.owners. And I'm going to say trtd. Oh, let's just make an unordered list. And I'll just do an li. Am I good? No, I need to close out my unordered list.
How about your list items?
Thank you. Anything else? That table should really be. Okay, so let's see how well this works. I'm not sure I have that. Oh, look. So if you have a syntax error, it's like, dude, I'm not even gonna run. So let's see whether the syntax error, I cleared it up. Yeah, I cleared it up in the process of typing. Okay, so let's see what Astro has. Oh, pet1 is not found on the server. So I think I did a bad job of specifying what my route was. So let's just make sure. /pet/1. Okay, so Flask URL variable. Yeah, so it is. Oh, I think I have to put, if I do the :int, I think I have to put it inside the, let's try that again. Oh, the converter ID does not exist. Weird. Let's try one more time. All right, whatever. There is a way to typecast it. Maybe it's int like this. Okay, all right. So, okay, so Astro. Aha, model species object has no attribute species. Okay, so I actually like, it's just like species name or something. It's not a problem in here. Okay, try again. Okay, yeah, all right. And let's just look at Cisco since she's in there anyway. Okay, yeah. All right, I'm gonna, so I recorded all of this. I'm gonna upload all of this to Git if you wanna look at it and play around with it. You're welcome.
This is so clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.